Yet, despite all these offsets, the tariff shock is here, and it is further dimming already weak growth prospects. This is clear even in the US. Growth is revised down from last year, the labor market is weakening, and inflation has been revised up and is persistently above target, signs that the economy has been hit by a negative supply shock.
We are here to discuss the world economic outlook. So question.
This is more of a downside risk in a sense. This is what we have to think about what could happen if negative trade measures were implemented, if some restrictions on exports of critical materials were implemented. This is something, of course, we're thinking about. We have in our report a downside scenario. These are not these very specific details of what is being considered right now, but it illustrates the potential for the global economy to take a turn for the worse if trade tensions become more elevated. In the scenario that we explore, but if you leave that aside and you look at investment outside of the tech sector, it's actually declining compared to last year, and that reflects in part the uncertainty that many businesses are facing when they're thinking about the future and scaling down their investment plans. So that uncertainty is already weighing on the outlook.
Impact on the fragmentation of the global economy. I wonder whether you could share some.
Weakening of the dollar is something that helps financial conditions in many emerging market economies, especially countries that have dollar-denominated debt. Whenever the dollar becomes weaker, the debt burden is slightly alleviated, and so that has contributed to improving financial conditions in those countries.
From Happy Newspaper, it's one of the leading economic daily newspaper in Egypt. I have one.
Inflation expectations have been slightly nudging up, not just at 1 year, but also 3 year, 5 year, and that's a sign that somehow households and firms in the UK are becoming maybe a little bit less certain that inflation will be coming down quickly. And so the path forward for the Bank of England should be to be very cautious in its easing trajectory and make sure that inflation is on the right track.
The first part of the question.
Well, I would just say first we welcome, of course, the developments over the last few weeks and the announcement of the first stage of a peace plan that would bring some economic and political stability to this region would be a major achievement.
And implement the investment program. Thank you.
And before we answer, there's
We've seen a very sharp reduction in the share of foreign-born workers in the labor force in the US that have, removed themselves from the labor market. And that, of course, is something that is weighing down. You can think of this as another negative supply shock on top of the tariff shock.
Thank you. Good morning. Pierre-Olivier from Latin Finance.
So our advice to the Chinese authorities has been for some time now, it's been for many years. If you look back at our Article 4, there is a need to rebalance the growth model towards a sustainable domestic demand.